In this video, we are going to cover adding and subtracting terms. So when you're adding and subtracting terms, you can only add or subtract what we call like terms. So for example, if we had 2x and 5y, these are different terms as x and y represent different numbers. But if we had 2x and 3x, they are like terms because they both involve the same pronumeral or letter. So sometimes it's best to view the pronumerals or these letters as objects. So for example, if I had 3a plus 2a plus 3b, if we imagine the a's as apples and the b's as bananas, it makes the expression much easier to solve. So for example, if I showed you what's on the screen now, 3a plus 2a plus 3b, and I said, well, how many apples and then how many bananas do I have? You can solve that. You notice that there's 3 apples and there's 2 apples, so we now have 5 apples, and we have 3 bananas. So it's the same way algebra expressions work, and like terms. We can only add the same letter or pronumeral. So 3a plus 2a gives us 5a, and then we have plus 3b at the end. And that is the expression. It is okay to have 5a plus 3b as your final answer. So I'm going to go through some questions here, and you'll start to see the pattern and the tricks to how to solve these. Alright, so simplify each expression. On the screen we have 5ab minus ab plus 3ab. So these all involve ab. So it's all the same term. So we can just straight up do it. So how I like to do it is, let's look at 5 take away 2 plus 3. Essentially, that's what we're going to be doing. 5 take away 2 plus 3 equals 6. So I know we're going to have 6ab as the final answer. Alright, so next, let's look at a different example here. This time we have some e's and we just have some normal numbers. So this is where I like to do an underlying method where we underline our like terms. So I know we have an e's here and we've got e's here. Now I include the plus because that's going to tell me what I have to do with it. And then we also have minus 3. Alright, I then look at our colors and go, alright, well, what things am I allowed to do? So because there's 2 reds, I can actually do that. I can go 3e plus 5e. Now, if I wanted to use my object method, I could go 3 elephants plus 5 elephants. So I know that's going to get me 8 elephants. And then we have this blue number left over, this constant, minus 3. So I can just write minus 3 at the end. It doesn't change. It's the only one. So again, underline your like terms can sometimes help you see which ones we need to join. So again here, same thing. I've got an x squareds and I've got x squareds here. X squareds do not equal x. They're different, alright? So these are different terms, alright? We're not allowed to add or subtract these ones. So that means I can underline our 6x as a different term. So we have 8x squared plus x squared. Now, because there's no number out the front, a common mistake is to go 8x squared plus x squared, well, 8x squared still, right? But that is not right. That's wrong. So what we need to do is we need to almost imagine that there's this invisible 1 out the front of that x squared by itself. And now we go, oh, well, that's easy. That's 9x squared, which is the correct answer. All right? So you got to make sure if it's just a pronumeral by itself, it actually has an invisible 1 out the front, so it's one of them. So 8x squared plus x squared gets me 9x squared. We don't have any other just x's by themselves, so the minus 6x remains the same. And to end the video, we're going to do a quick recap. So remember, only like terms can be added or subtracted. That means I've had 2x and 5y. These are different. Remember, x and y are different numbers or different letters. Can't add them. And again, you can think of it the best way that these letters as objects. So again, A's can be apples, B can be bananas, E's can be elephants, and so forth. You can underline your like terms to help with simplifying expressions later on. And remember, if you have some squared things or cubed things like x squared, they're not the same as just having an x. They're different terms. And the last thing to remember is if you have a pronumeral or a letter by itself, you got to remember there's almost this invisible 1 out the front. So because there is one of them. So remember that when you're adding and subtracting.